You useless person who can only make the same thing over and over again. You're fired. The restaurant will keep running even without you. Hurry up and leave.
Samantha informed me with a disdainful attitude. Although the head chef tried to stop Samantha, she paid no attention.
You don't need to come anymore starting from tomorrow. I'll also inform the president myself.
Saying this, she made a shooing motion as if driving away a dog. I understand. I left the restaurant powerless. I'm Natalia. I'm 45 years old this year. I work as a chef at a high-end French restaurant. Since I was young, I've always wanted to become a chef to make people smile. After graduating from a famous culinary school, I received a job offer from the current high-end French restaurant. There's a notion that high-end French restaurants are a man's world. Both my senior and junior colleagues were all men, and I was the only woman. That's why at first I was treated coldly. While my colleagues who started at the same time as me gradually moved up to tasks like making staff meals and amuse-bouches, I was only given dishwashing and cleaning tasks. No matter how much time passed, I couldn't graduate from dishwashing cleaning. Sometimes I directly appealed to the head chef, asking, why am I only ever given dishwashing cleaning tasks? However, the head chef would always dismiss me, saying,
I can't let a woman like you handle knives. If you don't like it, then quit.
I could only shed tears of frustration, but those days eventually came to an end. One day the head chef instructed me,
Natalia, you will prepare today's staff meal.
Surprised by the sudden change of heart, I replied enthusiastically, Yes. Actually, despite being treated coldly by the head chef, I have been diligently practicing cooking after work with a strong determination and saying to myself, I definitely don't want to lose. I want to someday present a dish that will amaze the head chef. Of course, the other trainees were practicing too, but I think I was always the last one remaining diligently practicing. And the dish I presented was quiche Lorraine. Actually, this quiche Lorraine is an original creation I developed through trial and error. Its appearance is more translucent than ordinary quiche Lorraine, making the ingredients look pristine, and I meticulously selected ingredients that would enhance its visual appeal. My colleagues were astonished by the quiche Lorraine I presented. It's probably because it deviates from the traditional concept of quiche Lorraine. And the head chef quietly nodded after tasting my quiche Lorraine. Since then, I've gradually been entrusted with more tasks, including mise en place and other cooking. Now I'm handling everything to some extent. As I gradually became more comfortable with the head chef, I asked, why did you suddenly entrust me with making the staff meal that time? Then, from the head chef,
Apparently, the president secretly observed you practicing cooking late into the night. He also came to me and asked me to give you a chance.
I received this explanation. I was completely unaware that the president had come to the restaurant, so I was surprised.
Furthermore, the head chef said your quiche Lorraine was amazing. I've never seen quiche Lorraine like that before. I realized I have been treating you poorly, thinking negatively just because you're a woman.
He apologized for that. Although I don't have many opportunities to speak with the president, I started to have a good impression. One day, when everyone was at work, I received an explanation from the head chef.
Sorry to interrupt while you're prepping. Actually, starting today, the president's daughter will be assisting with inspections at the restaurant for a while. Her name is Samantha. Since she's the president's daughter, please treat her with respect.
And when the head chef finished speaking, a woman who had been standing behind stepped forward smoothly.
Nice to meet you. I'm Samantha, the daughter of the president of the group that includes this restaurant. I hope we can get along well from now on, she said with a smile.
As soon as that was said, applause erupted. As I listened to the explanation, it seemed Samantha is close to my age and had been working in a completely unrelated company as part of her training. I heard that she worked in an office and had nothing to do with food and drink. She will be leaving that company and will be learning the ropes of management under the guidance of the president. So it seems she came to this restaurant to study. In the midst of this, Samantha was staring at me intently. Well, it might be more accurate to say she was glaring at me. When I instinctively stared back at her with a puzzled look, Samantha quickly averted her eyes and began talking to the head chef. I found it strange, but decided not to dwell on it too much. The next day, Samantha came to the restaurant again. "Today, I'll just be observing," Samantha explained. "I heard that the president told her. Go and observe everyone's work." At first, Samantha was walking around normally, observing. However, when I tried to start prepping with a knife in hand, she stopped abruptly behind me. She stared at me intently. Initially, I tried to focus on my prep and ignore her, but Samantha's gaze was too piercing. Reluctantly, I stopped my hands and spoke to Samantha. Did something happen?" Samantha is younger than me, but she's the president's daughter, so I spoke politely.
Why do you have a knife? Isn't your job customer service?
What? I thought to myself. In this establishment, I am employed as a chef. Customer service is handled by the staff in the dining area. That's what I responded, but Samantha seemed dissatisfied.
Huh? But all the other chefs here are men, aren't they? And I don't really think you're capable of proper cooking.
She muttered these things. Though I was slightly irritated by Samantha's impoliteness, I responded politely. Indeed, all the chefs in this establishment besides me are male. However, I have been training at this restaurant for over 20 years. I apply that experience to my cooking. It seemed that Samantha wasn't quite satisfied with my response. Just as she was about to say something,
"Samantha, can you come over here for a moment?"
the head chef called. Surely the head chef noticed I was being hassled and came to help. That day I was able to focus on cooking without any further hassle. After that, Samantha continued to say mean things to me every day.
How do you hold that knife? I don't know, but your grip seems slightly different from the head chef's, doesn't it?
Or,
aren't you slow? There's a huge difference compared to the head chef.
Every time I refused, she compared me with the head chef and looked down on me. It felt like she was nitpicking. Even though there was only a slight difference between me and the head chef, Samantha kept pointing it out. Moreover, due to my current efforts, I'm second in skill only to the head chef at this restaurant. So perhaps that's why I'm not compared to my other colleagues. Because Samantha kept hassling me, my other colleagues and the head chef helped me out. However, since she's the president's daughter, everyone felt they couldn't confront her too strongly. One day, amidst these ongoing days, an incident occurred. It was when I was making quiche Lorraine. The quiche Lorraine that the head chef acknowledged has now become a signature dish at the restaurant. Immediately after the head chef had his meal,
"How about adding it to the menu?"
he suggested. Initially, we put it on the menu as a limited quantity item, but the result was a huge hit. It quickly became popular and a signature dish at the restaurant. This quiche Lorraine has been featured on TV, so many customers come specifically for it. However, only I can make this quiche Lorraine, because it requires delicate and time-consuming cooking. So there are days when I spend the entire day making quiche Lorraine due to a large number of orders. That day, too, I received a large number of orders for quiche Lorraine and kept making them non-stop. After observing this, Samantha approached me after closing the restaurant and complained.
Are you kidding me? Making nothing but quiche Lorraine when the restaurant is busy? You don't even think about supporting with other cooking?
Since I was tired after work, there were many orders for quiche Lorraine. That's all I could say. Then Samantha, with a disdainful attitude, said,
A useless person who can only make the same thing for years should get fired. The restaurant will keep running even without you. Just leave already.
Although the head chef tried to stop Samantha, she ignored him.
You don't need to come from tomorrow. I'll tell the president too.
Saying so, she made a dismissive gesture, as if shooing away a dog. Understood. I left the restaurant powerless. I quickly packed my belongings and left. Until now, the president had rented an apartment near the restaurant as a dormitory for employees. However, now that I have been fired from the restaurant, I can't continue living there. Fortunately, my parents' house is only about an hour away by train, so it's not too much trouble. living in the dormitory provided more time for practicing cooking. And so after returning home for a few months, I began to prepare for something. However, during that time, one thing kept bothering me. It was the calls on my cell phone. My phone receives calls from unknown numbers several times a day, and it started the day after I quit the restaurant. I can imagine who might be calling insistently. Well, I'm busy, and they're unknown numbers, so I decided to ignore them and not pick up. After that, my phone kept ringing incessantly. And about 6 months later, I found myself working in the kitchen of a certain restaurant. It's a trendy French restaurant. The interior has a luxurious feel, but it's not as formal as the previous restaurant. The restaurant's concept is to make the restaurant welcoming even to first-timers. So we have quite a lot of young customers. Actually, I'm the owner and head chef of this restaurant. I opened it about a 5-minute walk from the French restaurant where Samantha fired me. I managed to cover the security deposit and opening costs with my savings and some loans. There were quite a few struggles before the opening. I wondered why it was so difficult to open just one restaurant. Every time I faced difficulties, I thought this. And I remember feeling really relieved when we managed to open successfully. We did some advertising by handing out flyers and using social media, so we had some customers from the first day. It was chaotic and tough, but fulfilling. And of course, our restaurant's flagship menu is the quiche Lorraine. Since I opened this restaurant on my own this time, I also refreshed the menu. In the previous upscale French restaurant, the customer base was older, so we relied on classic ingredients. We carefully selected ingredients like chestnuts and langoustines, focusing on their origin and seasonality. They're reliable ingredients, but lack excitement. However, now we're also incorporating visually appealing and popular ingredients, paying attention to their appearance and their appeal to women. The result, of course, has been a huge hit. Many customers order the quiche Lorraine based on word of mouth, possibly because it was already popular at the previous upscale French restaurant. The other day, we were also interviewed for TV. After being featured on TV, shortly after opening, there was a period when lines formed, and we even had to distribute numbered tickets. Fortunately, we managed to keep things running smoothly because we happened to hire only good staff. However, the calls kept coming in as usual. They were from that unknown number. I've never answered the phone before, not even once. But if I reject the calls, I might lose track of future developments. So I left them unanswered. During those busy yet fulfilling days, an unexpected visitor arrived. One day, just like any other, the bell rang to signal the arrival of a customer. As I began to say welcome, my words stopped, because there stood Samantha. "What can I do for you?" I asked Samantha to move to the back entrance because I didn't want to disturb the customers. Here, nobody would interrupt our conversation, and since it was already past the last order time, the other staff should be able to manage even without me. Samantha's appearance had changed quite a bit. Before I left my previous restaurant, Samantha always dressed up in brand name items. Her hair was neatly curled, and her nails had gel polish with Swarovski crystals. The perfume was also strong, to the point where I honestly wished she would stop wearing it. But I wonder how it is now. Samantha's clothes are from brands I know are budget-friendly. Her hair is not curled and looks a bit unkempt. Her nails are also chipped. It was clear that she wasn't taking care of herself.
"It's all your fault that the store is in trouble, you know. Don't you feel bad about it?"
Samantha shouted with her eyes narrowed. It seems like it's all my fault. Samantha never acknowledged her own mistakes before. I don't feel bad because I'm the one who got fired. How exactly is it difficult? I replied calmly. It was Samantha who fired me, so the responsibility should lie with Samantha, but I'm a little curious about how the store is doing.
"Because you quit, the store's sales have plummeted, you know. First of all, even though it's a French restaurant, I didn't even know that quiche Lorraine was the flagship on the menu."
Saying so, Samantha vigorously scratched her head. She seemed unable to believe the current situation. Definitely the quiche Lorraine I made is now a dish that every customer always orders. At times, customers even leave without ordering anything else, just having my quiche Lorraine and some wine. Many of our regular customers feel that way too. Well, in the case of regulars, they often bring business partners later and order a course meal. So there's no particular problem. So the quiche Lorraine I made makes up a big part of our sales for the day. But the president and the head chef should know this too. If you're the president's daughter, you should have been able to see the sales data, right? Don't blame me for your lack of knowledge, okay? When I confronted Samantha with reason, she bit her lips in frustration.
Ugh, so what? I couldn't stand you being the only woman in the kitchen, getting all the attention. You're not even struggling that much, yet you're treated nicely just because you're a woman.
With an envious expression, Samantha said this. Actually, I've struggled a lot because I'm a woman. There's no point in talking about it here, and I just wanted to end this pointless argument quickly. I'd rather think about new menu items than talk about it here. So, what's the reason for coming here? I asked calmly. Then Samantha quickly became angry.
You never pick up the phone, do you? When I told Dad that you quit, he got really mad the next day. He said the restaurant wouldn't function without you. He demanded I apologize and convince you to come back, she shouted.
Listening to her, it seemed the president had a lot of trust in me. Apparently, there were plans for me to eventually take over as head chef. While I mostly made quiche Lorraine myself, I had mastered everything from crepes to side dishes. Honestly, I think I had enough skills to stand on my own. Everyone at the restaurant probably knew that, except Samantha. Just before I quit, I was even mentoring the junior staff. I just wanted to keep working hard at that restaurant. Also, the fact that the president cared about me, plus getting used to the atmosphere at work, including working with the head chef, somehow made me want to continue. While I was thinking about that, Samantha continued.
And what about that quiche Lorraine? You're the only one who can make it, right? I heard even the head chef can't make it.
As Samantha said this, she pointed at me firmly. Indeed, only I can make that quiche Lorraine. There's a recipe, but the cooking process is particularly tricky, and if you miss the timing even slightly, it becomes mushy. I calmly responded to Samantha's inquiry. That quiche Lorraine isn't something just anyone can make. While you might manage to get the taste right following the recipe, the delicacy in appearance and when you taste it can't be replicated by others. Plus, it takes more time than regular quiche Lorraine, so I don't think everyone wants to make it. I left the recipe at the restaurant, but it seems like everyone gave up on making it. Because of that, everyone, including the head chef, respected me. While I was thinking about these things, Samantha gave me a stern look. And then, with the same momentum, Samantha made a declaration to me.
You, close this place right now and come work at our restaurant again. I'll put up with seeing your face because I have no choice.
She says some pretty outrageous things. I have no idea why she's talking down to me like that. And considering what's happening now, she should be trying to persuade me, right? I sighed in disbelief at Samantha's attitude. There's no way I'm going back now, right? Why would I need to return when I have my own restaurant? I conveyed firmly. The restaurant I quit is in the past for me, and I couldn't bear to come back with Samantha there, ready to complain again.
So what's going to happen to that restaurant? Actually, the head chef is also quitting following your departure. Several others have left the restaurant as well. The restaurant is now struggling so much to function that it's being forced to close temporarily,
Samantha said, visibly agitated. She's probably quite stressed out. She's speaking to me with her hair in disarray. Oh, I don't know. You once said the shop can run even without you, you know. Instead of being here, how about you run the shop? I said calmly.
That's impossible, obviously. Just make the quiche Lorraine.
As Samantha tried to continue, I won't ever come back, and I won't serve the quiche Lorraine either. It has nothing to do with the shop I quit. Don't ever come back. If you do, I'll make sure you're banned. With that, Samantha left, slamming the door. It turns out this whole incident was Samantha's unilateral decision. And by firing me, the head chef resigned voluntarily. Several other close colleagues apparently left too. This made the shop unable to stay open, so it had to close temporarily. When the president found out about this, he was furious. He was also angry that she couldn't convince me. To take responsibility for this, he apparently fired Samantha and kicked her out of her house. Of course, Samantha seemed to have been in trouble and tried to rely on others, but explaining the situation to those around her caused Samantha's credibility to plummet. It seems that Samantha couldn't get help from anyone in the end. Originally, due to not having a job history that made her an immediate asset, she couldn't find a job. In the end, she couldn't find a full-time job and ended up as a temporary worker. But even there, she caused trouble and her contract ended. Now it seems she's scraping by with a job at night. A colleague apparently saw Samantha in the streets at night. I've heard through the grapevine that even Samantha is struggling with her night job because there are apparently many younger staff members compared to her and things aren't going well at all. It seems like she's living in a rundown apartment to save money, so her days must be far from the glamorous life she was accustomed to. As for me, the business is going well, and I'm currently planning a second store. Actually, the manager of the second store was supposed to be the former workplace's head chef. He immediately left the previous job after the trouble and said he wanted to work together. Interestingly, some of my former co-workers from that place are working with me for similar reasons. They're quite dependable and have helped me out when I've been in a pinch. Also, something has changed in my personal life. I've started actively looking for a partner. Recently, I've been occasionally attending matchmaking parties. Perhaps seeing more people around me getting married has motivated me. While work is still my priority for now, I hope to enrich my personal life in the future.